7 million countries.
I did not know there were like 191 countries. Nobody knew that.
Nobody talked about it till I started talking about it. And there's been a great awareness of all the countries. It was me. All right. It's not fair because they're at Case Western, right? That's where the debate is tonight, isn't it?
It's in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
While the Indians are playing the Yankees in Game 1 of the playoffs, it's just unfair.
What an agonizing choice.
It's tough. You do realize that was one of the few black eyes for LeBron during his original tenure in Cleveland. He shows it at the playoff game with a Yankees hat on. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, believe me, if you think I've forgiven.
He later learned, and he would show up at the playoff games with an actual Indians hat on.
So I see, I don't pay that close attention until I pay close attention, and I see that they've got 8 playoff series in baseball, and they've just staggered them by 2 hours, starting at 1 in the afternoon all day long. So that.
Well, you remember what they always wanted to do is even when they did that baseball network thing, which is so stupid, they wanted the NCAA tournament kind of feel to it. And now, because of
they're getting it.
Yeah, because of circumstances, this is what they're doing.
So this is a good. So the pandemic is a good thing.
But now,
yeah,
we had all of the sports going on at one time, and now we've lost hockey. Thanks a lot, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they couldn't compete.
Did you share the video?
I did.
Excellent. We're ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's there.
We are rocking and rolling and whatnot.
Yeah, howdy. Wearing my Kauai shirt today. One time people used to actually travel and go places.
I wasn't aware of this.
It used to be a thing. Okay. It's the Brad and Britt cast. We're glad you are with us here. You may be with us live here in the 1-2 o'clock hour in the East, or later on via a podcast. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
The information and entertainment quotient it's stellar in any kind of circumstance. I think that's a fair way to characterize it. Don't you think, Britt?
I do. And if you are downloading the podcast, we certainly appreciate it. We've gone over 10,000 downloads for the 3rd consecutive month. So we really appreciate all of your support and getting the word out and all that stuff. If you're watching live, we appreciate that.
Nobody ever thought that could be done.
Didn't think it would happen, but it's happening every day. So it doesn't matter whatever platform you're using us on, whether it's Apple or Google Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. We certainly appreciate all the help and all the support you've given us over the years.
Okay, I got a quiz for you here. Who said it? Who said it? Ready?
I love these.
Here we go.
Always a trick question, everybody. Remember,
it's not a trick. Not a trick. The country will never really demonstrate that it's a democracy in the full reach and range of that conception until we've had both a Negro and Jewish president of the United States. Who said that? I'll say it was a president. It was a.
Oh, was a president that said that? Yeah. Teddy Roosevelt. Roosevelt said it.
Very good. Excellent.
We did not practice this, did we not?
No. But believe me, we don't rehearse anything.
No, that is tough to believe. No, I've read a couple of biographies of Teddy Roosevelt, and enough to know that he was a huge pain in the ass, for one thing. That's why he got a lot of stuff done. He was just a ball of energy. But yeah, that's good. Maybe he's right about that.
Yeah. By the way, did you see? I was talking about this with Jane before we started, and it just doesn't look like the Republicans are even trying to construct any kind of defense of Trump, the tax dodger, and Trump, the shitty businessman, because there's not a lot to be said.
They can't.
So they're left with all these little marginal things or stuff that they pull out of their ass. Did you see the Sean Hannity pushback? Did you see this one?
No, I haven't seen. Please
You'll
fill me
love
in.
it. This is so good. This is so excellent. This is called, you've not only run out of bullets in your chamber, okay, you've run out of toilet paper in the bathroom. You've got nothing left in your, there's no defense here. The answer to the utter absurdity of the New York Times trying to make Donald Trump into a tax cheat, pulling stuff from, illegally pilfering. But here's the John Hannity defense. What about the taxes of the New York Times? Why can't we see them?
Oh, that is a good one. That's going to work. That dog will hunt.
You like that?
I had a Chuck Grassley thing that he put out there. Chuck Grassley's concern is that the IRS is working too slow.
Right.
That's what this story means to him.
Right. It's the IRS's fault that Donald Trump, the master of delay, deflect, and deny, and by the way, if I were Donald Trump, and sing the song along with me, Optima Tax Relief. How long have we been hearing those commercials? Forever. They could negotiate that $100 million down to 95 cents if he would just let those experts get a hold of that case, don't you think?
The quote from Senator Grassley: "The thought that comes to mind is how come it's taking the IRS so long to get the audits done? I'm concerned the IRS is not getting their work done." I think he's nailed the problem here, Brad. I think you have to say that Chuck Grassley has focused like a laser on the actual problem with the story.
All right, so we can go down a list of 20 of these kinds of just completely irrelevant, not to the point excuses. And I don't think that Joe Biden has to take this head on. He can come at it from the side. He can talk about it in the way that I think most of us realize that it's hitting home, and that commercial that the Democrats put out immediately showing 4 or 5 different people in working person professions. So-and-so is a teacher, paid $8,000 a year in tax. So-and-so is a construction worker, paid $11,000 in tax. Donald Trump paid $750 in tax. That kind of says it all. And he doesn't really have to address it unless it's brought up by Chris Wallace, who, by the way, I am very worried about him now. When I first heard it was him a few weeks ago, I thought, well, he knows how to handle himself, and he's pounded the crap out of Trump, and he's fact-checked him. He doesn't take shit. But when he started saying, my job is to be as invisible as possible during this, I thought, holy shit. That's exactly what Donald Trump. He wants to be left alone in a cage with Joe Biden, able to lie and lie and lie and lie. And you've heard the advice a million times already that Joe Biden shouldn't play fact checker in real time. You can't do it. You can't keep up with the guy. That's all you'd be doing. And if the moderator is going to just throw out a subject that Donald Trump can immediately lie about and deflect, and he's going to sit there like the potted plant moderator, Chris. I just can't believe he's going to do that. I know he's saying that, but there's an over and under. If Donald Trump doesn't attack Chris Wallace at least 3 times, then Chris Wallace has not done his job. Because remember, when Trump is on stage, his opponent isn't just the other person.
Right.
It's the world.
It's everybody's against him.
Yeah. It's going to be Hillary. It's going to be Hunter Biden. May as well be standing there. It's not going to be Joe, because he's going to turn this into a, why aren't you talking about Hunter Biden and his corruption? You are the corruption. Or and again, I took the bullet this morning and accidentally stopped on Fox Business for 10 seconds.
God bless you for this.
No, it was only 10 seconds though.
Still,
but it's great. You can pick up the essence in just 10 seconds. And he's on Don Jr. is with that dreadful Maria Bartiromo, who transformed from 20 years ago being the money honey into a right-wing Republican bitch.
Yeah, no, she's the Eva Braun. She's the Eva Braun of that situation is what she is.
Right. She was the CNBC sweetheart of the week.
Right.
Then she had money dangled in front of her when Ailes was starting Fox Business.
Right.
She went to the other side of the street, and she really went to the other side of the street. So she's on with Don Jr. this morning, and this is how bad it is. When she's talking to him, she says things like, now, when your father is on the stage tonight with your father, that's how she.
Right.
But then Don Jr. uses this phrase, get ready, it's going to come up tonight. The Biden crime family.
This is what they've settled on?
Well, Don Jr. said that phrase today. It's probably been out there in the right wing for a while. But clearly, this will be the Titanic mother of all projections to try to turn what is the clear crime family of this century, maybe the last century too, that happens to inhabit the White House, the Donald Trump crime family, including all these people who've been associated with him who are already in jail or being sentenced, to try to turn the Biden family into the Biden crime. And again, we always have to come through we understand how full of shit that is. And then the next is that going to be effective? Why aren't the Bidens a crime family?
Let's have a discussion. Let's have a panel discussion. Two people here, here. It's great. It's the best thing ever. What a great attack for Donald Trump. It's just stupid. And the irony of that is you're trying to make the Biden family sound like some sort of mafia, like the Gambino family or some shit like that. That's the goal of that. Who has dealt more with the mafia than Donald Trump? Again, there's projection there. There's massive projection. That's what you've seen in that Netflix special, is that Donald Trump greased the palms of every mafia boss within a 90-mile radius of New York. So it's hilarious to see them trying to turn like this into some sort of, mafia family.
Right. And even if you'd never heard of the mafia,
right.
Forget Italians, forget the Corleones, forget that. It's just the idea that the very thing that got Donald Trump impeached, was his trying to intimidate the president of Ukraine to lie about an investigation that was never to happen over whatever you want to say about Joe Biden's son and whatever kind of money he obtained in a job that he probably shouldn't have had, being somehow equivalent to what Donald Trump has done as president. And to label them the Biden crime. But anyway, we've said the phrase enough. It's just absurd, but that's what you're going to have with Donald Trump as a caged animal fighting for his freedom. This isn't about him trying to get reelected president. This is about him fighting for his freedom now. Because
he's going to jail.
We now know on January 21st, when he leaves the White House, I know if he leaves the White House, it's funnier every time you say it. That he's going to be under the gun, and only presidential immunity right now is keeping him from his future. And by the way, even if he is reelected, he's still going to owe the money that he owes people money.
Right.
Of course, we're not allowed to know who he owes money to.
No.
That's a personal thing, Britt.
Right.
When your president is a national security threat, because it's very clear that people in countries whose names we have trouble pronouncing have something held over him. Or you just have to go down the list of places where he has resorts or buildings or financial interests, and look at the people that run those countries and the kind of business people that are there and the kind of folks that would have lent him money and kept him afloat all these years after he pissed away $400+ million from The Apprentice. By the way, that whole idea is enough to make you sick.
Yeah, Mike Tyson said, damn.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'll always feel like, and I think it'll eventually be proven, that he was money laundering for the Russians for sure, because that was the only place where he could get money. Because all the legitimate places that would loan him any money, they wouldn't do it.
I think you're underselling some other countries.
Well,
I don't think you should.
That's fair.
I don't think it's just Russia.
I think that was a big component of it, and of course, some of that stuff came through Deutsche Bank, because Deutsche Bank doesn't care. They're not going to check.
That's their slogan. Haven't you seen their commercials? We're Deutsche Bank. We don't care.
I don't know how you say that in German, but that's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I always feel that it was a money laundering operation, And you're right. There were a number. It was in the New York Times piece. It was one of the things. Was there were a lot of people. He's got a lot of loans that are coming due, and they're like, if he wins re-election, can we foreclose on a sitting president? It's going to make us look bad, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not going to have much choice. And you've seen also the evaluation of the properties that he's owned versus the debts. And there are a lot of people who know a lot more about this stuff than I do that say all of the properties that he have would barely cover the debt or maybe fall a little bit short. That seems to be the consensus among people who know what they're talking about.
I mean, if he sold everything tomorrow,
if he liquidated Doral and even Turnberry and Jersey and all of that stuff, all the assets, Trump Tower, everything, he might have enough to cover the debt.
But this is another one of those things where didn't he pay, I think, $150 million for the Doral Country Club? He could probably sell it tomorrow and get $20 million for it.
It's quite possible.
That would be another Donald Trump mega deal down the toilet where he's able to turn massive sums of money into nothing, claim that he's in debt, and then write off that debt year after year against whatever money he was making, and now he doesn't make any money.
But I'm super happy that he was able to charge the Secret Service thousands of dollars a night so that he could stay and play, for them to have rooms at Doral in different places all over the place so he can make money off that.
But the point is, yes, he did that. And that in and of itself is odious and should be illegal and probably violates 100 different ethics rules. Yet he is still losing oodles of money on those. Let's put it this way. A bunch of rooms for the Secret Service a couple times a year doesn't help you when you paid $150 million a year.
No, but it helps.
Right.
It helps throw money into your ne'er-do-well kids who are on the teat is what it helps do for consulting and shit like that. That's what that ends up doing.
But think about this and think about, when you see Don Jr. or Eric Trump or Ivanka talking about it, they are really all in this together.
Oh, yes, they are.
This is just one big
crime family.
You're
Sorry.
not allowed to use that. No, you can't say that. Not fair.
This is the top story at the foxnews.com website. Biden campaign rejects Trump's call for inspector to check candidates for listening devices at debates. At long last, sir, have you no shame? So he's on drugs. I need to piss test him, and he's going to use listening devices. That's what we're doing. Is that what we're doing now? Is that really what we're staking our hopes on?
Oh, so the charge is here, the underlying charge for people who are persuadable and haven't made up their mind yet. And is there anything more depressing than seeing these people paraded in front of you on TV? The I haven't decided yet people. Is there anything more pathetic?
It's the saddest thing.
It's just
so sad.
So the point here on this one is that Joe Biden is so infirm, so enfeebled, so incapable of rational thought or being cognitively present at a debate that he needs to be fed answers that he would, of course, be listening to and just repeat. And by the way, is there anything harder to do?
It's not easy.
It is impossible.
It's not easy
to not sound like an idiot when you're trying to repeat something that someone says. That's why Jon Stewart does his fake, puts his hand over his ear and pretends he's listening to someone talking to him.
That's a funny bit.
Right. So I think that Biden should make this offer. Okay. He will give in to any of these kinds of crazy urine tests. And by the way, they're going to have to pee right there in front of everybody because, you can't trust right? It has to be done in front of the country.
Sure.
So everybody's going to have to drop trowel.
Right.
And do it right there. And by the way, how about a fecal specimen while we're at it?
Oh yeah, let's poop too. No problem with that.
Right. A shit test too. And he'll agree to that. He'll agree to have an ear inspector make sure that there's nothing in his ear, nothing to help him with the answers. And all that Donald Trump has to do, he doesn't have to do anything because we trust that he just has to bring his income taxes.
That's all he's got to do.
Just bring your income taxes.
That's all you got to do.
And Joe Biden will give in to every fake idea that there is that you want to come, every diversion.
Makes sense to me.
Right.
Makes complete and total sense. Oh, by the way, they have your favorite article at foxnews.com, how to watch the debate. They've got that. If you were to, it's easier to list the channels that aren't showing the debate, where you could not see the debate. It's like, well, on the ID network, we're still murdering people. Don't worry about that. We've still got we got season 43 of South Park on Comedy Central. But basically every other network, every website you can go to, even that thing that they call radio that sometimes is still in your car, any station that you really there's like 50 stations will be carrying it. That's, again, your favorite article.
I think tonight I am going to watch the New York Times writers who real time make snarky remarks and fact check, and there's like 20 of them. They've all
it's the heavy hitters too. It's like Schmidt and Haberman and all the
I think that's how I'm going to watch it tonight. I think that's the way to do it.
That's a really good way to go. But I mean, as far as the debate goes, I don't have any predictions. I know that Donald Trump is going to try to interrupt Joe Biden every time, because that's his only chance to try to even, like you said, he's fighting for his life. He's going to jail. Members of his family are going to jail. So he has to hang on to the White House, and he has to cast doubt on the election results, because it looks very much like he's going to lose. So there's going to be constant interruptions. You're right. I think the money ball for Chris Wallace is to get a Mike Wallace reference, whether your dad sucked or you're not half the guy your dad was. One of those things.
Right, so I'm just saying there needs to be at least 3 attacks on Chris Wallace. You're adding in one of them has to be a Mike Wallace.
Yeah, because he loves dead fathers and dead kids. I think we might even get a Beau Biden blast here. I think all of that's in play tonight. And it's weird because first debates are very strange. If you go back to 2004, do you remember that first debate in 2004 between Kerry and Bush?
Go ahead. What do you mean? Do I remember? Where was I? Was I taking a shit at the time?
This will blow your mind, because I know you blocked a lot of this out because you still haven't forgiven yourself for voting for George Bush. The rest of us have. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But we obviously were on FM Talk 101.1 WZTK, and we had
I don't even remember that job. What was that? I don't remember that.
It was eight short years of your life, which gave you so much joy. So they did the first debate, and I can't even remember where it was. And I remember I'd watched it, and I'd listened to some stuff on the way in to work. And you took me aside as I came into that really palatial building that we worked at, and you said, "Look, were you listening to some of this stuff on the talk stations from New York and stuff on the way in?" I went, "Yeah, I heard it." He goes, "The Bush people are very pissed off because he got his ass kicked. John Kerry destroyed George W. Bush in that first debate. Do you remember this?"
Well, now that you talk about that, I do remember that that did happen. I don't remember any of this between you and me, because
that's exactly what happened. John Kerry had a tremendous showing in that first debate, and there were a lot of people that went, "Okay, George W. Bush being the war president and all that stuff, but now it looks like this guy's got them scared." And then Bush really put his back into it for the second and third debate, and at least showed up. You can have some sort of discussion about whether he won or not, but in that first debate, it was an ass kicking, and even at that point, a lot of Bush supporters had to admit, man, that was a bad showing. He sucked.
Yeah, but see, I think you can't compare this to that, because as much as some people hated Bush, some people like Bush. I mean, you're talking to somebody who voted for Bush.
Right.
That's how fuzzy things were back then, and that's how successful they were at fuzzying the issues.
Right.
That even a sophisticate like me,
you went to the best schools.
Right. That
the rules are way different now.
The rules are different. The ideology is much more hardened, and you're not going to turn Joe Biden into what they were able to turn John Kerry into, which was through the swift boating campaign, someone who apparently fought for the North Vietnamese, for the Viet Cong, against the United States,
right,
and hated America. You cannot do that with Joe Biden. They've been trying that for a couple of weeks. They're trying to turn him into Saul Alinsky's grandson.
Exactly.
the most radical guy in the history of the world. You know, the guy who was not going to be the nominee of the Democrats because he was so not the most radical guy running
That's
in
right.
that entire field.
That's correct.
So it's not working. That isn't working. And whether we want to believe at any level what's going on in polling state by state, and clearly the difference between this year and 2016 is that people were not watching the states. They were looking at that Hillary was going to win. She was up by many, at least 5 or 6, 7 points probably at this point also. And nobody was looking at those states up there in the upper Midwest that the Trump campaign had identified and was working on behind the backs of the Clinton campaign, which was caught flat-footed. And, he lost those states up there very, very close. That's not happening this time. And I'm sure that they're aware, I have to tell them, that even if Joe Biden is up by 10 in Pennsylvania or 10 in Wisconsin, that's still a guarantee of nothing. And Joe Biden still has to go to those places. Kamala Harris still has to go to those places. Nothing is a sure bet.
Yep.
And they're not going to make the mistake of, well, we've got those nailed down.
No.
We really can go to Texas now.
No.
We can
go to Georgia, go to Arizona.
No. You nail down your base, and
right.
You absolutely lock it down. And
it never hurts to have a Cory Booker or whomever go to Texas or Arizona. You can do that with those guys. Yeah. With some of you can have some of the other the Bernie Sanders or whoever you need to go out to those others. But the main players have to, as you say, they got to just pound the crap out of the battleground states, including North Carolina. That Pennsylvania poll that you alluded to, it's a Washington Post ABC poll among likely voters.
We're the tightest state of them all. We're the tightest state of all the battleground. We're the one where it's 46-45.
It's going to be close here in North Carolina. And I hope I myself would love to see Joe Biden win, but I would take a Joe Biden loss in North Carolina if it meant that Cal Cunningham got in. If you gave me a choice between Joe Biden winning North Carolina and Cal Cunningham going to the Senate, I would pick Cal Cunningham. Now, that's kind of a false choice because both things could happen. Joe Biden could win the state and Cal Cunningham could beat Tom Tillis. That's definitely something that could happen, and it might actually happen. Biden's support is at 54 to 45% among likely voters in Pennsylvania. It's 54 to 44 among registered voters, and Biden is still doing very well in the suburban women, including in Philadelphia, Brad.
Right. And I don't know what the path is for Trump to get those voters to switch back over to him.
Right.
Especially if some of those voters, many of them may have been Obama voters who gave Donald Trump a shot because her emails,
right,
and she's less trustworthy even than Trump. So stop telling me what a dishonest guy he is. What about Benghazi? All those women who fell for that. Well, they've smartened up. Okay, I'll give you a pass if you fell for it once and you correct yourself here and we get a blowout. We'll be on the road to forgiveness. We'll be on the road to a Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Healing, the road to healing.
Right.
That's what we need.
And I assume that the Trump campaign is still thinking they've got something in their back pocket, some kind of October surprise called the Durham Report or some shit like that to try to fuzz. But you know what? It's not going to matter. And unfortunately for the country, unfortunately for the health of all of us, it looks like now we really do have the second wave of the coronavirus starting to spike up, and it's back big in New York, and it's back. Oh, but that doesn't count. That's a blue state. I forgot. I understand that. Doesn't matter. But Wisconsin, I think, is really under the gun right now.
It's a big one.
So
and remember, it's those wow counties that are around Milwaukee. Those are the ones that matter. That's going to be the big deal, and that's going to be what you're watching for. By the way, Maria Bartiromo is saying that the Durham report will not be out before Election Day, Brad.
That is sad. That is sad. You know what that means? That's an admission that there's nothing there. Yeah. And they decided that it was better to just pretend it doesn't exist. You know what? It will never see the light of day. that will go away. That is going to go the same direction as the commission to find all the voter fraud that Trump put together right after the 2016 election to prove that he was actually the popular vote winner. Remember that group?
Well, those illegal aliens that were bussed in, Brad.
This is the same thing. So this is another fake dead end story that they tried to push to get Democrats and Joe Biden off his game, and it fell flat. I love that story. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. That's why they've thrown in the towel on this one.
We can't get it. It would be seen as politically motivated, Brad, and that's why it's not going to come out before the election.
Yeah, so we're going to make sure that we get that Supreme Court justice confirmed before the election, which is not politically motivated.
Not at all. No, God said we need 9 justices on that court, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has privately shared disdain for both religious leaders and the evangelicals who support him, according to a new report. This is The Atlantic releasing an article on numerous people tied to Trump who've observed the president in the past as he mocked conservative religious leaders and various faith groups. The piece characterizes Trump as someone who looks at right-wing evangelicals as a special interest group to be cozied up to, even though he privately sneers at rituals and displays a lack of piousness to religious doctrine. So I'm sure they're lying about this, just like they lied about him mocking those in the military, Brad.
Well, when I was reading 2 Corinthians the other day, I saw something. Nobody does the Bible better than me. And, I hate to say this because I hate people who say this, but obviously this isn't new news. It's just a confirmation of what's been on display over and over and over again. And when evangelicals are asked, how can you support a guy who married 3 times, cheats on his wife, writes checks to porn stars?
Yeah, bangs porn stars.
Clearly has never used the Bible for anything more than a doorstop. Clearly is the most unreligious human being in the history of unreligious human being. He makes Bill Maher look like a rabbi, a priest, and an imam all rolled into one. That's how irreligious Donald Trump is, because the only religion he believes in is Donald Trump, and the only currency of his religion is currency,
right? Which
he's really bad at
as it turns out.
Yeah. So this just adds to it, but the critical mass, the collective weight of these things, it's weighing on people that you and I both know have been making excuses and don't want to engage about it or try to turn the argument around. They know, most of them know. And yeah, some of them will say, well, yeah, my 401k is a lot higher than it was than when Trump came into office. And, all the kinds of really lame excuses that you would have for jeopardizing the future of the entire country, of ripping apart democracy, destroying rule of law, doing all the things that Donald Trump wants to do as he tries to cement himself in as the permanent president of the United States, a dictator, an autocrat, whatever you want to call him, that you would set aside everything that you know is true about Donald Trump for your own personal gain. When these stories come out, and they're coming fast and furious now, as they should, about his irreligious, whatever that word would be.
Right. Lack of religion.
Right. Irreligiosity. That's what I meant.
There you go. That's a big one, dude.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't say it, because see, I didn't even have to think of it in that word.
O-H.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was.
Yeah. F-U.
So you have to believe all of this stuff is the same thing. They're lying about him talking shit about the religious folks. They're lying about talking about the dead soldiers. Everybody's lying. Nobody's telling the truth about any of this stuff.
Well, yeah, we've known that since day one. The entire world is lying, and only Donald Trump tells the truth. And you know that people who say that on an individual basis for an issue, they know.
I hope
they know that when you're in school, when you're in 4th grade, and the teacher Well, okay, I'm talking old school. I'm not talking about now. Apparently now when the teacher calls up and says little Johnny is misbehaving, you attack the teacher and try to get the teacher fired, right? Isn't that how it is?
That's what you do, yeah.
All right, but back in another era, when the teacher would say Johnny was misbehaving, and the gym teacher would say Johnny is misbehaving, and the art teacher said that the little Johnny was throwing crayons, you would believe those teachers, and you would give little Johnny a spanking, or take away his dessert, or take away his record player. That's a Joe Biden term, record player.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Victrola, take away the Victrola.
Take the Victrola away. That's funny.
Right. And these people are pretending that Donald Trump is the modern kid for whom everyone is lying about, and only he is. Mommy, I didn't throw the crayons. I didn't misbehave in class. And I didn't trip anybody in gym class. Donald Trump's never done any of those things. And not only is that not true, it's completely the opposite of that. Everything that you know about him is only half as bad as the truth surely is, right?
Okay, well, that's it.
Yeah.
So he's spinning his Twitter feed promoting a brand new book from Senator Ted Cruz. So all you got to do is have somebody.
I've got that. Hang on. It's called
I'm
an Asshole.
I'm an asshole. The Ted Cruz story. All you have to do is have someone say that your wife is ugly and your dad killed JFK, and you can have Donald Trump promote your brand new book, which is called One Vote Away. By the way, if you're going to order that from Amazon, do it through shop.britt.com. So Donald Trump is promoting that. And then the other thing he's promoting on his feed is a supposed video from the Veritas Project showing cash for votes, where people were actually bribed to give votes. He's promoting that. It's hashtag cash for votes. So that's the big.
You got nothing.
That's the red herring that they're going through today to try to get away from the taxes and all that other shit.
Right. As opposed to saying that you're going to send every senior citizen a $200 drug card. That's not cash for votes.
No, that's not.
That's not cash for votes.
That's not cash for votes.
I'm sorry. So that's okay, because that's other people's money, cash for votes. The Donald Trump technique of spending other people's money, but now he's spending tax money for his little. And by the way, that's never going to happen. That thing that he threw out last week at a rally.
Of course.
There's been 1,000 of these where he says things that in the moment sound like they're such wonderful suck-ups and panders to a group that he needs demographically, because he heard late in the afternoon from somebody, oh, you're hurting with seniors in northern Florida. When you're in Jacksonville today, tell them you're going to give them $200 in a cash card for drugs. Oh, okay. All right. Good idea. And then it ends up in his rally. And then it makes news. And then it goes away because it's never going to happen. You just can't do that with an executive order. It's just not going to happen.
So they've not come up with any kind of anything that's going to stick to try to get the stink of this tax story off, have they? They've not been able to come up with anything at all. And like you said a long time ago,
ignore it. They want to ignore it. Remember, number one is to ignore it.
You can't.
You can't ignore it. You cannot ignore it.
And as you say, Drudge has gone in pretty hard and heavy because he smells blood in the water and thinks that Trump's a loser in this election. Is what it looks like, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I see. Not only does he front the story big, but he mentions that all the betting that's going on around the world is now I think is 80% Biden winning the election. But as we all know, that's the same thing that Hillary had in 20. You know, we're all gun shy and we're all concerned, and we all have to make sure that we turn out, and we all have to make sure that we tell other people to turn out. And it's not too late right now, no matter where you're at, to apply and get a mail-in ballot and get it done. I mean, we're not even to October yet. You can do it.
You can do it.
You can do it. And the mail will not be a barrier to you at all. It will not. It just won't.
Meanwhile, ahead of tonight's debate, Joe Biden has released his tax record showing he paid $300,000 in taxes in 2019, Brad.
Well, you know what we call that? That's called a sucker.
He's a big.
That's called a loser. That's called what? Where was the accountant on this? Right. So he had a pretty good year. If he paid $300,000 in taxes, right? I mean, what was his income? Must have been a couple $1 million.
He and Dr. Biden made $944,737. Pretty good year.
So his tax rate was about what, 23, 25%?
According to the story that I'm reading on CNBC, it's a 31% tax rate at federal income taxes. That's what they got for him. I'm not sure what deductions that he might have taken. He might have had a couple of failing businesses he put in there.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's the bit that I'm trying to do with people now. I want them to come up to me and go, "How was your day?" And you go, "I had a really good day. I lost a shit ton of money in my business. I think I'm going to run for president." That's the bit I'm trying to promote. Nobody's going along with me on it.
Well, you do see in the Time story confirmation of, and by the way, if we went back and listened to ourselves, or you went back and looked at what other folks of our ilk have been saying all these years, and it's been written 1,000 different ways, that Donald Trump had no intent of really becoming president, that it was a branding exercise, that he wanted to get his name out. Well, the New York Times reporting makes it even more clear what was going on at that moment, because that was, you get to 2015 or so, and Trump is sucking wind financially. He's got no endorsements. The Apprentice is gone. So that money that was flowing in from that is gone. He's bought all these golf courses that are starting to bleed him dry. He's got nothing. All he's got left is money that comes in from the original Trump Tower, which, by the way, I find that kind of interesting and ironic, that the one thing that's been a winner for him all these years was the original building there on Fifth Avenue.
That's it.
Trump Tower. But he took out a mortgage, another mortgage on it a couple years ago for $100 million, and apparently just pissed that money away very, very quickly, wasted it on buying more golf courses. And now that money is due. Apparently he's been making maybe interest payments on that, which is the equivalent, again, of paying the minimum on your credit card bill every month and not thinking that one day you're in trouble. And see, that's where Joe Biden and the Democrats have the opportunity to explain this in real language. Donald Trump is doing what people who really mismanage their finances do, but are never given a chance to get out from underneath it, that they really do have to declare bankruptcy. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people every year who have to declare sometimes because of medical bills, often because of medical bills, but for various reasons. And if they have to run up their credit card just to live, it's a tough way to go. But that's what Donald Trump has been doing figuratively and literally for all these years. And Daddy wasn't there to bail him out anymore. And then the casinos went bust, and that was a couple $2 billion in the hole. And then he got to be the luckiest son of a bitch in the world when he got the Apprentice show, because that paid him way too much money compared to
in excess of $400 million. How much do you hate Mark Burnett right now?
Yeah.
Mark Burnett's a piece of garbage.
Him and Zucker. Well, Zucker too. Zucker ran NBC then, and Zucker saw it as a gold mine too. So he's had two bailouts from different kinds of daddies, and now he's the president of the United States, and there is no bailout for him here. And if you don't think that this isn't some kind of national security threat, if you want to try to close your eyes, like I've got my eyes closed right now, and think, yeah, the reason he's so nice to Vladimir Putin is just because he thinks Putin wears sharp-looking suits and he admires a man who dresses well. If you think that's the reason that he is so obsequious to Vladimir Putin, then, I do have the bridge to Brooklyn to sell you. Donald Trump is in hock to a lot of really bad people around the world. It manipulates his foreign policy. It explains a lot of things. We've all been saying that for years, that the behavior has to be because he is in hock. He is beholden to bad people around the world, the only folks who would lend him money and keep him afloat so he could present the facade that he's this successful businessman. I wish Robin Leach were a younger guy and was still alive and could talk about some of the people that he met over the years. You can look this up. Maybe he did. Maybe he wrote a book or something about.
I think they used other people's houses when they were building that show, when they were filming that show and stuff.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous, but not with everybody.
Not with everyone, but I believe in some cases
there were some.
They used other people's houses.
But this is as if 30 years from now, Kim Kardashian becomes the president,
Well,
and nobody can believe it. And then you trace it all back to the fact that she was on TV for 15 years or so with this stupid program that made her a household name.
it's about the same.
And there's no difference.
There is quiet concern,
except that she probably is a much better manager of money and a much better business person than Donald Trump.
and a slightly smaller ass than Donald Trump. But there is quiet concern within the campaign, according to the New York Times, where aides took note of the daily tracking numbers from Rasmussen, a typically rosy assessment of how the president is faring that showed support falling after his tax story came out. Among Mr. Trump's circle, there is finger pointing about how the issue was handled and a hesitancy to discuss with him an issue that they know he is sensitive about. We can't talk about it. We just can't talk about it.
I look because a couple days ago it was I'm 52% in Rasmussen, and I believe today he's back to 47%. That's a big drop off in just a couple days over one issue.
Yeah, many of the president's advisors are arguing that such stories have never harmed his standing with core supporters in the past, and that this would be no exception.
Right. Well, that's always true until it isn't true anymore. Right. Until you reach the point where you can't throw the long ball anymore.
That's right.
You can't get the players out anymore, and it happens to everybody at a certain moment. And
what if Melania waited all this time to get out, get the divorce, and have a huge settlement, and he's got no money, and they foreclose on his property? She can't get any of the houses or anything. Don't you feel sorry for this poor woman?
No, you're ready for the Trevor Noah line on this? This is great. He says the reason that Melania is staying with Trump is because now, if she gets divorced, she's got $200 million of the debt. She gets half of it. Okay.
That's a good place.
You think in certain states, the spouse get in.
That's a good place for us to end today.
Yeah, that really is. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
We'll give you some instructions on how to watch the debate.
Yeah, in case you don't know.